like for whenever on your computer, if you could, so that whenever I bring it up, which is, it's no slam against you or anything, but it's a good optic to have for the visual of this, about a tech thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now are you ready,
Hold
asshole?
on, I'm sending it to you. I'm always ready.
No, you're not, because I've started recording and you're still talking.
I'm gonna fuck it up anyways. Oh wait, we're recording. Okay, cool.
Yes, because you won't stop talking. Did you just fucking throw up?
Yeah, how can you tell?
All right, welcome back, guys. This dude doesn't know how to fucking be ready, but we are back, and we got another
1,000 miles away from home.
That's your fucking problem, dipshit. But we're back, and we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Nick Plumb, former candidate for Texas District 2, my former hometown. Are you in District 2, Dusty, or are you just outside of District 2? I don't remember. But I know you used to live there either way.
I'm in, I'm not in District 2 anymore.
Yeah, we both used to live there, so that's where we're from.
I don't know. I can't remember what district. I'm in 38. I'm in 38
okay.
now.
All right. But either way, very happy for you to be here, man. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I used to be in 38. Now I'm
used to be in 38. So. Nice. Tell us a little bit about Mr. Nick Plumb.
Well, like you said, I mean, I ran for Congress. Ran for Congress because I was pretty concerned with what I saw happening. I don't know. My whole story is pretty simple. You know, I enlisted into the Army at 18, got hurt, got out of the Army, got fixed, went into the Navy for 6 years. After I got out of the military, I went to work at Walmart, became a store manager. And then Amazon came calling. They were looking for folks to launch their warehouses. You know, so there weren't a lot of people that had big operations experience like you would need at a warehouse. So they went to Walmart store managers, recruited me, did that for 8 years up until, well, technically I'm still with Amazon until the 28th of April, but I received layoff notice on January 28th. And I kind of felt that was coming, not because of performance or anything, but because of what I saw happening around me. Amazon and a lot of tech, they really took to hiring foreign labor. They took to offshoring, and I was pretty expensive. I was at the L7 level, head of AI enablement for the global comp team. So when you're seeing all these things happen and you're kind of behind the curtain, you have I felt I had a platform to push by running for office, and Crenshaw sucked. So I thought he needed a good challenge. Ultimately, the campaign didn't go my way. Steve Toth ended up winning the primary, is what it is. But that's kind of probably how I got my name to where you guys would even know it, was through that.
What do you think about Steve? Steve, to me, seems like he's the other side of the same coin of Crenshaw, just on my perspective.
You nailed it, man. I have all my apprehensions, right? Like I don't know why he ran, to be honest. He's near 70 years old. I don't think that he has a real solid platform. Damn. Everything really that I heard him talk about on the stage was, he's 67, 68, was I'm not Dan Crenshaw. And I mean, I guess that wins in certain parts of the country. One here in Harris County and Montgomery County. I don't know how it'll do in the general, but a lot of my concerns were, does he understand what's real and relevant? And I mean, I'm not trying to like blow smoke at my, toot my own horn, whatever, but I was coming, if I'd have won, it was a 50% pay cut from what I was making. So it wasn't about the money. It was, you've got Ted Cruz saying no one in Congress has any ability to legislate AI. They don't have the tech knowledge. They don't have an understanding of it. So I was trying to bring some of that. I'm a parent. I got a kid in college. One's a junior in high school. So I'm worried about their careers. They're both trying to be doctors. I see what's happening there. Like I felt I had a real agenda. And, Toth to me had a name that was somewhat known, had the machine behind him. And I think it's the same machine that got Crenshaw elected. So pretty
Yeah.
not excited about it.
Yeah. So to me, it seems like with Toth, and the whole, everybody's like, well, if the establishment / the machine was real, then Crenshaw would have won re-election. I'm like, no, he was kind of like, in my mind, a sacrificial lamb, because then they just replaced him with another establishment candidate to make the illusion of you still have a choice. That's how it played out in my mind, because
Yeah.
everything that I researched on Toth, at first he looked shiny. I was like, oh, okay, cool. This guy seems like kind of I was like, and again, the whole I'm not Crenshaw was working at the surface level. I was like, fuck yes, he's not Dan Crenshaw. I want not Dan Crenshaw, damn it. But then you start to dig a little deeper. And I was like, I don't know about this guy, to be honest. And then that's, as I started to dig in who is all running for District 2, that is when I found you. And then I started to research you. And then I was the one to sent you that initial message from my profile on X. And I was just like, and then I told Dusty, I was like, this is the guy we need to be pushing right here. And
yeah,
unfortunately, you're against the establishment, which is a fucking monster.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is. I heard after the election, I heard Toth on one of the grassroots spaces. Sarah Gonzalez was on there, Toth, and I think it was Abraham George. He talked, he didn't name me, but he said, there was this other candidate in the race who was extremely far right and yada, yada, yada. To me, that was kind of reflective, because I don't think I'm extremely far right. I mean, I'm very conservative, but I don't think I'm like, I don't know, dangerous far right or anything, which is kind of how I felt he presented it. But then I look at some of the shit that he said. He's talked about, he's got that soft stance on deportations, only wants to go after the illegals, or I'm sorry, the criminal illegals. I heard him on Halloween on Kenny Webster talk about there should be sensible pathways for legal immigration that doesn't cost $100,000. And then he'd get on stage and, talk about being anti H1B and, extremely conservative, the most conservative ranked legislator.
Contradicting
know,
statements.
I struggled with it.
Yeah. But we kind of talked about it on the episode with Alex. And it's like, because the way we view things, is like two things can be true at once, right? Like, we need to get illegal immigrants out of here who are here, without legal status, regardless, right? And Dusty is saying, like, a lot of the ones that are like, they overstay their work visa because they can't seem to get into the court system because the court system's overloaded. I was like, okay, well, that means that we're letting too many fucking people in to overload the court system and shit like that. So it's like, two things can be two at once. We let too many people in, and we have way too lax of criteria of why we let people in. Like, we need stricter criteria of who we let in. We need to drastically lower the number of what we let in. Now, obviously, as of right now, I think we should 100% stop everything because we're just overflowing. But like in a perfect scenario where we're not in this point, right? Still drastically lower the number of what we allow in, have higher criteria of who we let in. And then on top of that, still revamp the system where it's not like you have to have the utmost insane knowledge of how to work it because it's ridiculous on how to work. Like, two things can be true at once. Have a easier, more efficient system because the government sucks as its job anyways, because it's just the government regardless. But then we need to extravagantly get rid of a lot of people, stop bringing in so many people, and then increase the criteria of how we let those people in. Like, that's how we see, like, two things can be true at once.
Well, we need a net zero of unemployment before we let one fucking immigrant in. Honestly, that's how I look at it.
I mean, that's where I'm at, right? Is immigration, any immigration should be good for the nation, right? And a nation is not a country. A nation is the people that, claim the country or the land. And right now, our immigration policy isn't serving the nation. It's serving big capital
Yeah.
that cuts all the money. And honestly, letting anybody into this broken ass system is irresponsible. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's like the pendulum swing, right? It's swung all the way out here, and now it needs to swing violently back. And I don't mean violently, but like, vigorously back. And we need to extract as many people as we can, fix the system. My thing is, even before Chip Roy was pushing the Pause Act, I was pumping what I'd written it out. It's called the Reclaim Act, restoring employment and citizenship laws through accountability, integrity, and moratorium. And the whole point was min 2-year pause. Let's see what hits with AI. That's going to drive some job elimination and some job changes.
Yeah.
And if the INA was not reworked in those 2 years, you would just extend it for a minimum 1 year each time. So maybe it turns into a 20-year moratorium. Maybe it's a 5-year moratorium. But my thoughts are you've got to have a forcing mechanism to get both sides of the legislation to the table to actually agree on something that gets back to benefiting the nation. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Pause it, clean it up, get some data analytics on it, and maybe then we can take someone. But I don't know.
Yeah. It's definitely been. It's definitely been a disaster, and I still hate using the excuse of like, this is all just Biden and Biden. It's like, no, it's been an ongoing thing. Like, is that we can't always just blame the last Democrat administration or the last Republican administration. This has been going for
It's deep
God knows how
state.
long. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
so,
boils down to its deep state. It's all about control on both sides. It gives a talking point and a fighting point for division and where unity can never be reached because it is such a volatile topic where, when some of y'all are coming out and y'all are bringing up these topics on the campaign trail, it's refreshing to hear, but at the same time, one thing that we saw a lot of, which I didn't see with you at all, was someone that was talking to one set of constituents and giving them one narrative or one thought process and going to a Mexican restaurant and saying, well, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm doing. And then you go over here to this next event and they're saying, oh, well, no, this is what I'm going to do. And they're cherry picking their verbiage to each individual constituent that they're talking to, which you didn't do. And I love that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'll give you an interesting story. Like I went into there was a church that invited us all out to come do their thing, and it was a full on like not traditional Republican church. It was very liberal, black
was that
church here.
the first panel that Crenshaw didn't show up to?
No, no one showed up to that one, but me in Texas too. Sean Finney
Okay.
showed up there though. It was a bipartisan one, so they, a lot of folks didn't. I sat next to Sylvia Garcia. There were very few Republicans there, and I got up and gave the exact same speech that I gave, at the True Texas Project or what I said at the Montgomery County Tea Party. And that was interesting. It didn't go over very poorly. I thought it was, and I got as many applause and everything as the next guy. And then while I was standing out at the polls doing the whole, holding my sign during the actual voting window, there was a group of ladies that were there campaigning for one of the Democrats in 38. And they asked, who's this Nick Plumb guy? They didn't know I was that guy. And I said, well, I'm him. And here's our platform. They were like, I wish that we could vote Republican because you're the only one saying anything that's making sense. And then there was another issue at it was a Saturday morning event at a 55 and up community. Toth was there. Martin Etwop was there. I gave my little spiel, got off the stage, and I was chased down by a guy that's, I guess, a big name in the Democrat Party and said, you know what? We love what you're saying. Maybe you should run Democrat. And I mean, if you heard anything, like I never changed my messaging at all to whoever was in the room. It was, our immigration policy is broke. Both sides have had us distracted with stupid shit. Someone needs to focus on the things that actually matter. And I'm trying to do that. So it's, I don't know, the electorate isn't that stupid, but the problem is not very many people go out and hear those speeches. Not very many people, followed me on X. It was who controlled the voting guide and, the mailers and radios, ads, all that shit.
Yeah, and I think I think the bigger issue when it comes to elections of this cycle, like the mid cycle, um, is nobody knows about them. That's the bigger issue.
Yeah.
Um, and because if it's not a election cycle when the president is getting is running, and then in like in those terms every 4 years of that time cycle, nobody's aware and nobody's paying attention. You know, so that's why we have insane fucking turnout on all these other ones, right? Fucking hate you, dude.
Why?
Because all you do is mess shit up for no reason. All right, so
Yeah, well,
I don't even know where we're at, but I'm just gonna ask this question real quick. But going on with the whole trying to figure out immigration and as a whole, because we need kind of just put it as a whole. Have you heard of this is congressional candidate in Florida, District 19, John Strand? He's promoting a proposal that he wants to do when hopefully if he gets in, called the 2020 Sovereignty Act. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
And it's pretty fucking brilliant. Like it's one of those things of like, it might seem like a radical thing, but it's like, I think this is something that could get kind of traction. It says 20 years of zero immigration, a full moratorium, 20 million deportations of illegal immigrants currently in the U.S. No exceptions or excuses, with the goal of restoring national sovereignty, ending what he calls the scam of mass immigration, securing elections, and ending chain migration.
Yeah, I mean, my initial feedback is 20 million may not be enough. Uh, but the 20 million part sounds like a good start. The 20
Yeah.
years, I mean,
It's
like,
it's a good start, but I'm saying like it sounds really I think that could get a lot of traction. You know what I mean?
yeah, I feel like the 20 years is going to have a hard time getting through.
Yeah.
Like I'd be, you know, as much as I want to say zero immigration, right? You always need to have like the fiance visas. That needs to be allowed to happen. Americans should be able to marry whoever they want, in my opinion. So like
Yeah.
that should be passed. And maybe there's a reasonable number, 1,000, 5,000 of the best coming here could be okay. But
Yeah.
I think anything more than that, is unreasonable. So I don't know. I think the 20 years would be very hard to get past, though.
Yeah. It is pretty interesting, though. I just thought that was
Yeah.
when I saw that, I was like, wow. That,
I mean, I like
that-
the idea of conditioning it. You just pause it until the laws are rewritten, and as dysfunctional as everything is, they're probably not going to be passed. So maybe it turns into a 50-year at that point. 20 years is hard for some people to.
But not only
swallow.
that, it's one of those things of like,
yeah.
as soon as they're out of office, like new people come in, and then all of a sudden they're just getting that a new bill that nixes that law or some, because repealing a law is almost impossible. They just get a new law that just says the other law is like null and void kind of a thing. So it's 20. I mean, 20 years is that's why it's like, if you can't get it done in 4 years, and you can't get shit done at all, pretty much.
Right. I'll have to look into it. I mean, I'm glad more people are talking about it. A couple of years ago, no one was really barking up this tree. It was still close the border, which I think Trump has shown that we can do effectively. It's now the actual legal piece, and then getting rid of the folks that are here illegally.
Yeah, and it's just by enforcing the laws that we already have. You know what I mean? That's all it was. I would still like to see the border wall. I mean, I would. I don't think we're gonna get it. I'm being realistic at this point. Like, I just don't think we're ever gonna actually get it. But but it's like, hey, we're finally just enforcing the laws we have on the books, and we're showing that it is capable of being of happening.
So you mentioned Trump. How do you feel about Trump now? A lot of us are looking at it where he ran for this term under a false pretense, and he's not executing on the policies and ideas that he had placed forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair to say. You got no pushback from me there. I don't understand. Like the one thing that I learned from my career, being like even on the tech side, being behind the curtain, like I understood or I learned that there are decisions that are made that don't make sense unless you know all the details behind the curtain. And I'm not trying to excuse anything, but I'm incredibly America first to the point of America only. Like I don't really understand a lot of that stuff that's happening in the Middle East. Not a big proponent of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard him talk about H-1Bs, and then I heard the Laura Ingraham interview. Made me extremely sad. As a
Yeah.
three-time voter, I think it's very fair to say we're not getting exactly what we expected. He's still got some term left. If he's able to pull this all off, and it's been a long game. Uh, I don't know. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but sure as shit was better than any option that we had.
No, I can agree with you on that.
The thing is, it's one of those like we have what is like 2.5 years left, but it's not looking good for us in the midterms. And if we, and
Yeah.
at a certain point, it's almost like, almost rightfully so, we're doing this to ourselves, and we're not conservatives. We're libertarians. We just happen to have some conservative views, some that might lean a little bit on the liberal side, but it's just one of those things of like, at a certain point, we tend to vote more conservative, just because a lot of the left and liberal people are just too fucking nuts. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah. No,
at a certain
absolutely.
point, it's like, it's at a certain point, we've done it to ourselves. So it's like, if nothing can realistically get fucking done in the last half of this presidency, it's our fault. We've done it to ourselves. And in a sense, we can't be upset because he's had the first 2 years to just hammer down on what he said he was going to do, but he decided to go completely the opposite direction. And
Yeah.
I don't understand how he couldn't have just done that after he secured the midterms. You know what I mean? Like, had he just hunkered down and
Right.
delivered
Mhm.
on promises in the first half, secured the midterms, and then decided to do 180, then we'd be like, oh, well, maybe we have the rest of the term for him to do something more. But at least he got this done.
Yeah.
But he just
No,
kind of threw it in our face, and that's what's kind of upsetting.
Here, go ahead.
No, I was gonna just agree. Probably that would have been more strategically intelligent. The part though for me is Congress has kind of not done their part either. I blame the speaker, Mike Johnson, a lot on not running the
Yeah.
House, not making things happen, not pushing people to get bills through committee, not keeping them in session. I think it's been very weak leadership in Congress that uh, it goes both ways. I mean, it could be the president not, maintaining the relationship with the majority leader and the folks that he needs to get things to go through legislation. But it's been with the mandate we sent him with, I really thought that a lot more would be done.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah,
You
I
know,
don't know.
like I was gonna say, what I don't understand is, Republicans run on this thought process of small government, keeping the government small, and why and how, or what do you, I'm trying to think of how I'm going to word this. Why is there not a single fucking candidate that wants to come out and say, you know what, let's have a fiscal budget, let's have a balanced budget, let's do everything budget wise, let's, prop our GDP, let's keep our government small, and let's stay the fuck out of people's lives. Because to me, it's like we've got a complete insurgency into our personal lives and what we do day to day, whether it's in our bedroom, what we're spending money on, what we're smoking, drinking, eating, living in general. Like, why do you think that there hasn't been a candidate that's come out and had that true conservative view of, look, the small government, balanced budget, we'll run the Fed, states will run the state, and y'all live your life and we're not going to fuck with you?
I mean, I think you kind of hit it at the end there. There's this stuff like the Fed is doing so many things that the state probably should be doing, and
Mhm.
the states aren't doing things that they should be doing. But realistically, I mean, I think the last year, probably maybe 2 years, but especially the time while I was campaigning, changed a lot of historical things that I thought were the truth in my mind. Like I've always been small government, and then I started really diving into this data with fraud and waste and abuse. And the reality is, we've created this big government with all of these fiscal programs, social programs, and then got rid of the headcount that was managing those programs. And
Yeah.
and what you see happen, well, now that those programs are in place and nobody's there managing them, you've got all of Somalia stealing, taking advantage of those. Our immigration program is massive, but there's nobody actually monitoring it. Uh, so now we've got this illegal, I don't know, the legal immigration piece that's being run, what I would consider to be illegally. So I think it's maybe a feasibility issue. Like I think if you were to build out a 10-year plan, 15, 20-year plan, you could say years 1 through 5, we're actually going to bring in some folks. We're going to contract the government, but we're going to be increasing that headcount as part of an exit strategy. We're going to go in. We're going to run these analytics on all these programs that we have. We're going to devise the plan to work ourselves out of a job. That's what we used to always say at Amazon: is if you're doing something well, you'll work yourself out of a job. Uh, but I don't know. I would have a hard time myself even pressing that inside of 2 years. And I think it goes back also to the fact we can't balance the fucking budget. Like it
Mhm.
is the way it's built, it's broke. And at some point we're gonna have to say money's fake, it's not real. Screw the
Yeah.
debtor. Let them figure it out.
Well,
We've got
that's what's a fiat. That's what's a fiat currency.
yeah. And
Which
so to that end,
did
yeah.
you ever hear? Did you hear? Was it Rand Paul's way to balance the budget with the 6% cuts?
Yeah, I mean I that was a while back. I don't remember all the details on it, but I mean
Okay,
even yeah.
and I thought that was a very good, idea to try to cut it, because he was also trying to jump into our social welfare fucking corrupt system where we're putting people on the tit and creating, I guess, lifelong Democrats, lifelong somethings. I don't know what the fuck we're creating, but it's not good for us.
I don't know. I mean, now is probably as good a time as any to have some big thought, like some actual thought leadership come in and think about doing things differently. I look at all the jobs being eliminated with AI. We may get into a point where UBI becomes a real, a real thing that actually needs to be given some serious weight. And if you are leaning into a UBI situation, does that then turn in like who's going to pay the tax? I think you would compute, tax the data centers, tax compute, and that now gives you some different opportunity in balancing the budget. But uh,
But doesn't
it's
that
start.
push us too far into a socialistic mindset if we go to the universal basic income?
Well,
Because that's one thing that I don't like about it.
I'm not advocating for UBI at all, but like you got to understand. I
Mhm.
mean, in Amazon, and I'm giving their numbers because that's what I know. In October, they fired 600 or laid off 670 software development engineers in just the state of Washington. And these are guys who are making 400, or we'll call it 300 to 600 grand a year. So 670
Damn.
homes lost an average of $400,000 a year income, right? They have to leave the state. They have to sell their house. They have to there's not a backup job to come in and replace that. And then you zoom out further and you look across. Oracle did it, Meta did it. All these big companies are laying off these top tier jobs. That will trickle down. It will impact the guy that's, mowing lawns or installing concrete, the home repair guy, the appliance install guy. Like it will trickle down, and that's my concern is if we if AI does do what I think it can do, and what a lot of other folks from behind the scenes think it can do,
No, I
there's a
agree.
major maybe UBI becomes a forced reality. Not that I'm advocating for it, but I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do.
Yeah. Well, so you're in District 2 and you're from the AI sector, or I'm sorry, tech sector, whatever you want to call it. Did you see that report today about noon of the FBI and that tech CEO? That's
No,
what I
no,
was going to bring up later. So there was a
no.
report at noon today, FBI activity in the Woodlands linked to tech CEO Sam Altman. Federal agents are on the scene at a home near Campbell Court as a part of a court authorized investigation, according to FBI's Houston office. Details remain limited, but reports suggest possible connection to last week's Molotov cocktail attacks targeting OpenAI CEO Sam Altman in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's
You didn't
crazy.
see any of that?
I mean, I saw that Sam Altman's house had the, that was a couple days ago. I read an article or saw something very briefly that they were at the house of the guy that they thought was suspected. Maybe it's that location. Maybe it was a different one.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't know this guy's motivations or anything, anything about it, but people are being hurt by AI right now. Like that's the takeaway. I'm not excusing or I'm just going to say people are being impacted by AI, and it's generally negative.
Yeah.
And if they're trying to go after the face of that, and Sam Altman has chosen to be one of the lead faces of that, I could see how we got there.
Do you think AI is going to cause people to get lazier than what they are,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
dumber?
Dumber as well, but it's going to do a couple things. Like it's going to change who can win. If you can think critically and problem solve, but haven't excelled at rote learning, you can actually now do things that you couldn't have done in the past. You think about a lot of the labor that we import in the tech side, it's because they've mastered a singular tech language. It could be something as simple as SQL, or maybe they're great at Python, or they have one tech stack, Java. They've nailed the nuance of that relation of that language. And then you've had in the past people that, like me, I was a product manager. My job was understanding the business, the macro, everything connects, and I would write these detailed requirements. I need a tool that does this and it works like this, and it, like here's the business case behind it. But I didn't know all the programming languages, so I couldn't code the program myself. Well, AI now enables me to do that. So it's changed the value proposition for folks that can problem solve. It's made them more valuable. Those that have excelled at rote learning, that makes them way less valuable, almost disposable to some degree. And then you've got the folks that, I don't know, the non-playing character type, they're going to stop thinking organically. They're going to take whatever the moderated model spits out to them as the truth. And that's where it gets pretty dangerous, because you can start to now build a whole army of folks that all they know is what, has been parameterized through the model. And I don't know. It can drive that further between the 85% of people that are, just not thinking, and the 5 to 15% that are thinking.
Well, speaking of the a minute ago with the government being in your personal life too much, did you know that there is a Texas law that doesn't allow you to have 6 or more sex toys in your home?
I didn't. I don't know how they'd enforce that.
Yeah,
other than
it's
Palantir.
Texas Penal Code 43.23. These devices are defined as including dildos or artificial vaginas designed or marketed primarily for stimulation of human genital organs. Because if you have 6 or more, you must be having intent to sell or distribute. So they're trying to get you to having too many sex toys without a license.
So, I mean, is that then protecting
Damn
sexually
perverts.
oriented? Is that the intent, I guess?
I don't know, but I just thought it was particularly funny that Texas came up with a number and then put it into law. I'm just like, how the fuck is this a thing?
Well, I mean, that's the dumbass folks that we send to the state house. You look at how many bills how many I don't know, pieces of legislation that got passed or even put on the floor in Texas over the last session. It's ridiculous. The things that matter aren't getting any attention because they're filling the time and space with sex toy laws. It's just stupid.
So it says in here it's
Yeah,
currently
like who the
enforceable
fuck
as of
gives
this year,
who
though.
gives a shit what someone does in there?
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, I would much rather have them. I made a post about this a while back. The state Secretary of State website right now looks like it's not been touched code wise since like 1980. But there's a bill that was written, I think it was in the 80s, that authorized them to charge a fee for every time a document search or a search for a document was conducted. And that made sense because back then all the documents, the formation documents for business were sitting in filing cabinets, and they had to have staff go and retrieve that and make a copy or a
Labor,
whatever,
yeah.
and they'd give that labor that you were paying for. But now in modern tech, there is no, I mean, there's no tech burden for that. You could literally build the search, and they already have the search feature. They could make it better. But because that law has been on the books forever, anytime you go in, and I'm pulling them all the time, you have to pay $1 per search. I think I paid $6 on Saturday for it. It's
What the
stupid.
hell?
That's an extra tax that we're paying as Texans. Those are the types of bills and laws that need to get modernized, and they don't focus on that. They focus on everything that someone that gave him $1,000 in the campaign cycle asked him to focus on. It's pretty dumb. So I bet that sex toy law was, the guy that owns Cindy's or, one of those made a donation and wanted to get rid of the dildo bootleggers, I guess.
Oh yeah, they're rabid.
Well, I think that's no different than what we were reading or seeing about. I don't know if I should say his name because I don't know if he's a little bit of a sue happy bitch, but fuck it. Dan Patrick. So Dan Patrick's little ban on cannabis is essentially pushed by his ties to the pharmaceutical industries, is what I've read a lot of fucking shit on.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Which is complete bullshit. Like, who gives a fuck if you want to smoke a blunt here or there or have a bowl before you go to bed? Like,
and there's both sides of the coin. People say now my neighborhood smells like weed or whatever, but you've also seen, alcohol use go way down. And I've known a lot more people have violent alcohol or, alcohol related car accidents than, somebody smoking weed and getting into a wreck or getting stoned and beating their wife. You just don't hear that as much. So
that's exactly what Alex said. That's exactly what Alex said. He was like, because he's former law enforcement. He's like, I've never gotten a call because a husband was too stoned and beat the shit out of his wife. That's never happened. Like this is not a thing, so it's funny that you said that. And he told us the exact same thing. Like it's always drunk or like they were like cocaine or methamphetamine because it ravaged their mind, but marijuana doesn't have that effect. So
yeah. I mean, that's my whole thing, right? If you want to assess anybody's legitimacy on why they're pushing, the repeal of Cannabis Act or whatever it was called, if they're not doing the same for alcohol, it's a non-legitimate push. It's biased for some reason, and it's not about general health and welfare.
Yeah, completely hypocritical. Hey, what did you do? What was your MOS in the Army?
I was a 27 Delta in the Army. I was a legal guy.
So were you like a paralegal? Were you a JAG or what?
I was the JAG paralegal. I did. So in the Army, I did like 3.5 years. I got hurt, just a silly thing, tore my knees up really bad. And then I was at Fort Hood. We were getting ready to deploy.
Ask him if it was a paper cut.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a paper. I got hurt in Korea, up in Rodriguez Range on one of those FTX things. Just jumped stupid, fucked up my knee, chipped my femur, tore meniscuses, and had to have a bunch of surgery. And honestly, if I hadn't been, I PCS'd to Fort Hood, and at that point, I was a billet, and they could either they needed me out of the billet so they could get somebody because we were ramping up to deploy. So I think there were probably a lot of folks in my situation that had an injury that probably would have been, surgery and recovery and stay in. But at that point, they were, we need this head count, get off our IMTO, med boarded me out. So I had got out like 6 months prior to my ETS, had 3 knee surgeries, and then went and joined the Navy. Went back in as a same thing. Because I'd been in the Army, gone through legal school, and the Navy has an MOS called the Legalman. I literally was issued my sea bag with my uniforms. I didn't go through any basic training, any A school. Next thing I know, I'm out at Pax River Naval Air Station as the legal officer. Navy was a little different. They put an enlisted guy at an air station, and then you wouldn't have a JAG on site. You would have a JAG in like the Washington district. So it was neat. I got to be standalone. When I had a high level clearance, got a TSSCI, that from there it put me into deployments with CJ Sodif AP, where I was their guy that was running all their tips and dealing with detainees. So the last like 6 years of my military time was really dealing with detainee operations for the exciting guys that go out and catch the bad guys. They need someone like me to deal with them and process them.
So which of the teams was your favorite to deal with?
I mean, it was on my rotation. We had 10th Group and SEAL Team 5 was who was assigned to CJ Sodif with Sodif C when I was there, and it was, pretty hit or miss. I mean, I think I probably connected more with the Army guys, to be honest, than I did the Navy side.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I was with CJ Sodif AP, and together they were like, it wasn't, I don't know. They wore a different, everyone wore kind of the same uniform, same deal. And I was hanging out more in Radhawania Palace complex with them. I didn't, like, it was a different job. My job was supporting them through dealing with detainees.
So when you were,
I don't have all.
When you were a paralegal, I guess not dealing with too much on the group side. Well, I mean, even then, but I'm saying like just working kind of regular base stuff. Kind of going back to our episode two episodes ago. Did you ever come across a lot of cases that dealt with? I would assume obviously you kind of saw them, but like dealt with MST allegations and stuff like that.
Military sexual trauma. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. I mean, I had several cases. When I was in Korea, I worked for Trial Defense Services. So I was down TDS, if you've ever heard of it. They're what are they? They're the lawyers that defend.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the word. What is that? What is that word? Like the court appointed. They're your court appointed legal
Public defenders.
In the public defenders. That's it.
For the Air Force, we call them ADC, Airman Defense Councils.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was TDS, and this was 22 years ago, so memory's kind of foggy. Yeah. But I was living there in Camp Henry, little post where if you ran all the way around the perimeter fence, it was a 1 mile loop. So you can very, very small, like 3 rows of barracks in it. My next door neighbor, real good friend of mine, she was, it was a Saturday night. Everybody was up on the, the bar on the hill. She didn't go out. She stayed home, went to sleep early. Battle buddy of hers, of ours, another troop, let himself in through her, he slid open the barracks window, came in, sat down on her bed, started trying to, rub on her and all these things. She woke up, freaked out. He hopped out the window, bounced. And for the longest time, he denied that it was her or that it was him. He, it wasn't me. He was put on base restriction. He broke restriction one weekend, went out to Camp Carroll in Wagon, probably, an hour train ride away. Ended up murdering somebody on camp.
Fuck.
He was at another soldier's barracks room that had just broken up with her boyfriend. her boyfriend, another soldier called her, heard on the background of his phone, said, I hear someone there. I'm showing up. When he showed up, things went sideways. He stormed the door, chased into the bathroom, stabbed him with one of those switchblades, like, the letter opening switchblades,
Oh
and
wow.
hit him just perfect, right? Like
Oh
right.
shit.
And the guy
Jesus.
bled out in like 8 seconds. No blood actually came out of his body because it pushed the organ to, like
Yeah.
prevent the internal bleeding was so bad it pushed the organ to where it like stopped anything from coming out. And he tried passing that off as the guy cut himself when he was breaking the window to try to get in the barracks. But anyway, it was, I had that case, had some male on male stuff, some elite males on, non-elite male, like a non-elite male on an elite male. And I say elite, I mean like team group guy. Like
Wow.
it was real.
Yeah.
Where there was a lot of shady shit that happened. And
Did you?
How much of it
uh,
did you see was like false? That do you think was false allegation?
uh, there, I know of at least several that were, and one of the ones that was probably the worst false allegation that I saw was a guy was he was openly gay, and this was still like don't ask, don't tell time.
Yeah.
I don't know when don't ask, don't tell went away, but this would have been like 03, 04.
It was during Obama's, I think, second term. I don't think he did it in his first term. So
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I literally remember hearing back then, like, don't ask, don't tell was you don't ask if we have any gays in our unit. We won't tell you if we have any gays in our unit. Like,
but it was
people were
pretty
now
clear who was
open-
gay. You just didn't ask them.
Yeah. And so there was this guy that was very, openly gay. He hooked up with another guy, and another guy walked into the room on it, and the guy that wasn't openly gay that was involved in it, screamed it was rape, and
Oh.
it
Oh,
he ended up recanting, but it wasn't until that other soldier's career was ruined.
Yeah.
and
Because his reputation is already fucked from being labeled that way. That we spoke on that. Like
yeah,
even if you get
yeah,
lucky enough
yeah,
to win or get proven innocent, your reputation is already screwed. And that's what sucks.
yeah,
But
yeah.
bigger, I guess another side point of that, the accuser who did the false accusing, did he get any repercussions that you remember, or did everything just kind of stop?
He got adcept like a 14-12. So no, he wasn't prosecuted, but he got an admin separation. 1412 Charlie, it's man, this is a long time. AR 635-200, chapter 14-12 Charlie. I can't believe I remembered that. But it's commission of a serious offense. So it's basically where they say you did something that was worthy of a general court martial. We're not going to court martial you. We're just going to kick you out. Give you typically a general discharge. So you don't have a dishonorable or other than honorable. It's not honorable. It's just general.
Yeah.
And he got out.
Discharge
Probably
in
has
lieu
had
of.
zero impact. Him. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, saw some other weird ones where you had a sergeant advise his PFC that he couldn't be seeing this girl because she was underage, and then the sergeant went ahead and slept with that girl, that knowing he was underage, and they both went to court martial for it, and the sergeant got a way lesser sentence than the private did because the private took a guilty plea and the sergeant fought it. I mean, really kind of ridiculous. It's
That
it as within the civilian system.
I've
You
never
don't,
understood that, because but one thing that when it comes to the court martial system, like, trial by your peers, right? So it's like, as you go up in your rank, you're supposed to have a trial by your peers in your rank. Now, obviously, the higher ranking you get, the lower amount of peers you have, which is why you never see generals and admirals and stuff get court-martialed, because there's not a lot of them out there. And if there are, they all know each other and they're all like besties behind doors. So it's bullshit that they don't fucking face consequences like us for the same shit or worse. They just kind of like, hey, we'll just retire. Just take your full retirement and benefits and going out the door. We don't care that you were caught with child pornography. We'll just, we'll knock you down from 2-star to 1-star, but give you full benefits. Like, okay, fuck you, right? Like that really did anything. Like, it's so annoying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw an E9 get bumped to the E8 for child porn, and in the same token, I saw like an E3 go to jail for 3 years over it. So,
Yeah.
What was the most fucked up case you saw?
Well, the most fucked up case I saw was not actually the military. It was a Gitmo case.
Ooh.
I mean, we can talk about that one. Or in the military, I'd bet it was probably one of the first ones I worked on. It was a young PFC at Fort Huachuca. So Huachuca is the Army Intel Center. Interesting command. I was sent there as a private. I was the only guy in my unit that was 04 or below. So I mean, E1 and everybody in the command's 04.
Yeah.
It was a TRADOC military intel command, and one of the troops that was there in school, he was just a, I don't know, like the autistic kid, that joined the military, that was very brilliant but had no social skills. He was being taken advantage of by the cool guys. Well, the cool guys asked him to drive him down to Mexico on a weekend. So he complied. He drove him down there. They partied all night. He didn't drink because he was he wasn't a drinker.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they didn't want to stay in the hotel. Like he wasn't cool enough. They didn't get a girl or get girls, so they're like, we'll drive us back to the barracks. Well, he's driving, and if you ever been down there, Nogales to Sierra Vista in Arizona, there's no lights. It's through the mountains, at 3 a.m. In the morning. The guy's been up since 4 or 5 a.m. for he had his whole Army day, and then he went down there. He fell asleep at the wheel. They asked him to turn the radio off because they were trying to, like, really kind of shitty. One of the kids was killed, and this guy was court-martialed over negligent homicide. And I thought it was pretty fucked up. Like, it's not the most sexy case of all, but
yeah,
I thought it was just a really fucked up situation. You're an 18, 19-year-old kid, whole life in front of you. You get into a car wreck. There are a lot of extenuating and mitigating circumstances in my mind. I felt for the guy.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because it was one of the first ones I dealt with, but it's kind of shitty.
Yeah. Damn, dude.
What was your Gitmo case?
Yeah. So I was assigned to this unit called the OMC. That's the Office of Military Commissions, and there's 3 components within that. There's the OMCCA, the convening authority. That's like the unit that supports the judicial system, the judges, etc. Then there's OMCP, the prosecution. I was on OMCD, the defense. So that means I literally worked on the defense of a guy that was held in Guantanamo Bay. And if you know who was there, they weren't good guys. My case was USV Omar Cotter. So Omar Cotter is the youngest Westerner held in Gitmo. His father was, and some of this may be up for debate, but I've read his dad was like number 4 in Al Qaeda. He was a big financier for him. Omar was captured when he was 15 years old for killing a Delta Force soldier. And converting Italian-made mines into IEDs, and it was a very interesting situation to go down there, and kind of what my job was is, there's all these different classification systems that you've got, secret, top secret, unclassified documents.
Yeah.
Across the classification systems, there was like 70,000 pages of discovery and statements written by all these different agencies. My job was to learn all of them, understand what was there, and kind of build out the litigation case. I ran all the litigation, like whenever there was a thing that needed to pop up, a sworn statement, I had to know exactly which one it was and get it to pop up on time. And then beyond that, my job was really going in and making sure that the client was a willful participant in his defense. And that was actually pretty interesting. I'm gonna give you guys an analogy, and I know people may watch this and think like, oh, he's a sympathizer. I'm not. it was very rule of law for me. I was going there doing a military assignment. They didn't ask me if I wanted to go there. I was assigned to that unit.
Yeah.
You're going to do your job. You don't say no. At least that's the way my mind worked.
Yeah.
But I was raised, and my parents had adopted me. Were born in 1930 and 1933. He was a Christian minister and his church secretary wife, and I was raised like extremely Christian. I didn't get to go to the movie theater. Didn't have any music in my house that wasn't Christian gospel. I didn't get to go to the school dances. And I mean, I was class president, homecoming. Like I didn't get to go to homecoming dance. I lettered my sophomore year. I like there were all sorts of things that were not very conducive to the way that he was, their mindset. So I felt as if my hardcore Christian upbringing was very parallel to Omar Khadr's hardcore extremist Islamic upbringing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happened is his dad set him off to coast Afghanistan to act as a translator for there was a house with a bunch of dudes in it, 2 Yemenis and an Afghan. So Omar spoke Arabic, Pashto, Farsi, German, French, a little bit in English.
Wow.
So he was there to translate between these guys. And, his dad didn't give him a choice. He's like, this is where you're going. And you're a young kid. And I think about mentally where I was at 15. Anything my dad told me to do, I was doing it because there was zero option not to. Like there wasn't a choice. And I can only imagine his was much more extreme. So in my mind, I was like, he's not a real like willful participant in this. He's almost kind of a guy that was tossed in. But him and I'd go down. I lived in DC. I'd fly to Gitmo on Tuesday. I'd fly back on Thursday, debrief on Friday. So I'd spend Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the prison cells, talking to him just like I am with you right now. We'd watch, movies, play bananagrams. I'd give him a jar of olives at first because he liked olives to get him to open up. But we talked about, Sarah and Abraham and Ishmael or Isaac and who's the true son. And like, it was just, that part to me was actually interesting. Do I think he's guilty? I mean, yeah, he supported a terrorist, or like by letter of the law, he's guilty. I just think there was a lot of circumstance behind it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, we argued.
He was put through enhanced interrogation techniques, right?
I don't really know what all I can get into that. There's some videos about CSIS, the Canadian CIA equivalent. We argued in the Canadian Supreme Court, and they actually ordered repatriation. Prime Minister Harper was still the prime minister at that point, and the judgment that came out there was they treated him improperly. I don't know if they used enhanced, like whatever the terminology was, but they determined at least through
it's
CSIS,
called enhanced interrogation techniques.
Yeah. With Omar, the big thing that happened is like he was the whole story of how he was captured is fucking nuts. It really is, right? You've got what is it 19th Special Forces Group? It's the reserve unit out of Utah. I think it's the 19th.
20th.
Again,
20th.
Okay. It's been so many years, 20 years now. I can't, 18 years. I can't remember it all. But that unit was out doing their thing. They were looking for a bomb maker, going door to door. They get to a house and someone says, well, there's this other house you should go look at. So they go to this other compound where Omar and these guys are. And as they're rolling into the compound, like the protocol at that point was you send the ANGs, the Afghan National Guard, up first. They do that. The ANG guys are literally like sawed in half with AK fire. They just, it was a bad deal. So they, form their perimeter. There's a firefight. There's a guy by the name of Sergeant First Class Lane Morris catches a grenade, loses an eye. It comes out in court that Omar also caught part of that grenade to the eye, so he basically was blinded at the same time. So he goes into the back of this compound and like hides, cowers, whatever. They drop 400 or 500 pound bombs on the compound. The whole roof is blown out. They bring in the Apaches. They do 4 or 5 strafe runs on it. He catches, like, his legs almost cut off through one of these strafe runs. So now he's under the collapsed roof, legs basically cut off. I think he takes 2 or 3 through the chest. Like they used to call him Swiss cheese because the guy was just destroyed. Then the 82nd comes out, the QRF gets there, they bring out the Mark 19, they blast a hole through the wall. At that point, Delta hears all this shit going on. They want to be the breach team. They come in and breach. When they breach, a grenade is thrown at them, and a little piece of shrapnel hits one of the Delta operators. Wasn't wearing a Kevlar, who was wearing a baseball cap, catches him right here in the frontal lobe. He ends up being pulled off of life support in Ramstein a few days later. He lost brain activity from it. So pretty tragic thing. But as Delta had rolled into the compound, one of the guys shot someone that, there was another person other than Omar alive in the compound when they entered. So it's like, you can't say with all certainty that Omar threw the grenade. That was what the main charge was, though, was that he committed murder in violation, like he was an insurgent that committed murder by throwing that grenade. I think you can find out on Wikipedia, you can see that like the kid was buried under the roof. His leg was cut off. He was shot in the chest, but blind in 2 eyes. It's like, I don't know if he actually tossed it or not. But regardless of that, he was there converting Italian landmines into IEDs. He was there supporting a terrorist organization. He was a bad dude, but was also a kid that was sent there with really no choice.
Yeah.
Like his dad and brother were killed by the CIA. His sister is known as the first lady of terror in Ottawa or wherever the hell she is in Canada, like very extremist. So it was a unique family the kid was part of, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it was fucked up, but I know he was in whenever certain things were going on down at Guantanamo.
Yeah. Dustin.
So
I think it was 19th, wasn't it?
Yeah, you were wrong.
Yeah.
As a 19th Special Forces group is out of Utah. 20th is the second one that's out of Alabama.
Oh yeah.
It's Lane Morris.
Whatever.
I'm sure you can find all the stories on it.
Yeah.
And Doc Buka is actually the guy that treated Omar on the bird coming out of the compound. There's a really interesting podcast on that. You can kind of hear the whole, my end of what happened afterwards. Buka is, dealing with this kid that's shot up. And then I've heard some of the other soldiers about the compound. GWAT was wild, and Gitmo should have never been a thing, to be honest.
Yeah, GWAT was definitely wild. Definitely wild.
Yeah. Damn, that was 19th. I thought that was 20th group that did that.
Nope.
No.
Real quick, since I
can't remember everything, so fuck it.
Yeah, you're a retard. Real quick, so you said you were at Fort Huachuca.
Yeah.
Have you been aware of any secret military operations prior to September 10th, 2025?
Oh, God.
I but Huachuca's a weird place, man. The Army Intel Center. There's lots of stuff.
I'd never heard of the damn thing until I started following Candace Owens' investigation, and she started saying Fort Huachuca. I'm like, what the fuck is this place? And then, I started researching. I was like, no, it's a weird fucking place. To be fair, who knows what all this is being said, if it's true or not true, but I'm just like, it's a weird fucking place. So I just thought when you said Fort Huachuca, I was like, damn, Plumb is involved. He knows.
I was waiting for you to ask that question. I fucking knew it was coming.
He said it.
God damn.
I didn't think it was weird when she started.
Did you ever deal anything? Did you ever deal with anything with like UAPs or anything?
No, UAPs.
Nothing at all.
The aerial phenomenon, unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah.
No, I was the legal officer at Naval Air Station Packed River. It's the Navy's test pilot school. If I were to ever deal with anything, it would have been there. The only thing that interesting happened there is it was the emergency landing place. Like, on the East Coast, you've got if a jet has an emergency landing issue, so many things are like certain areas are designated as that. Well, they had a hover pad, and we had a retired colonel, Marine colonel, that had bought a Harrier jet somehow. He was a retired pilot.
Fuck yes.
Yeah, he pulled a fake emergency because he wanted to test the Harrier landing, and he botched the landing, and the jet was stuck on the hover pad for a very long time, and it was immobile. So I had to organize a bunch of stuff with that. I mean, we literally had to, like, he just wasn't getting it removed from the hover pad. Probably cost him a lot of money, you know, to get it, because they had to bring out a giant truck, a crane to lift it, put it on the truck,
Yeah.
the flatbed, because we wanted it. They had to get it off the air station. But we had to really compel that colonel to get out and do that.
Wow.
No shit. Fuck.
He bought.
I don't know how he did it. I really don't know how, but the guy had a fucking Harrier. But
I mean, do you remember back in the day whenever that big, because they made a Netflix series on it, the whole Pepsi giveaway where like to get a Harrier jet, and
maybe he won it.
but it was in the commercial and they didn't put a disclaimer, and a guy technically like did everything to get the Harrier jet, and they were suing Pepsi, be like, hey, you didn't put a disclaimer. And I got however many fucking things. So I want my fucking Harrier jet. Yeah, it was a legit thing.
A movie about that, right?
Huh?
I think they made a movie about it.
No, it was a Netflix series special.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was really interesting. I was like, oh man, because I mean, technically, it's like you have to put a disclaimer if you're gonna have that, because everything else on that commercial was a real thing, but they had the Harrier jet there. They didn't put a disclaimer on it, so.
How much do you think a decommissioned jet would cost?
Fuck, I don't know. But he had, I mean, I'll tell you what, I learned a lot doing wills as folks were getting ready to deploy. There's like a whole generation of folks that were, you know, field level officers, flag level officers that were worth millions of dollars that you would never know. Like they bought a lot of Google stock or, you know, Home Depot stock early on. And, you know, I mean, fuck, if you bought like $10,000 at Home Depot in the mid to late 80s, it's worth, you know, $40 million right now. And there was a lot of
God
that.
damn.
Yeah.
So,
Fuck, man. Well, so moving on to you hooking up with getting together with Tyler, right?
Yeah.
And the whole targeting and just giving it to fucking Greg Abbott like he needs it, right? Because fuck him.
Yeah.
Tell us about the experience, because I've been following you obviously through your whole campaign, and you teaming up with Sarah Gonzalez, and you go on, and I saw you went on Nick's Right's podcast, Nick is Right podcast, whatever I think it was, I don't remember what it's called, something like that, right?
Next night. Yep.
Yeah, and then you know going about H1Bs and data centers, and specific to a lot of the, you know, kind of the Indian invasion going on up here, right? So just tell us about the experience, man, because it was a great fucking video to watch, you know, and I wish it could have, I just wish it wouldn't have been, because I feel like so much more could have come out of it. But like, tell us about that experience.
Yeah. No, it was real cool, man. Like the whole thing is, you know, even before Sarah Gonzalez was going out and doing the door knocks, I had made a video of me doing these door knocks. And the reason I made a video of me is I made a website that pulled in all this data, and it explained what you could be doing on these door knocks. And they're not just go like harass Harry Vagina Polly. It should be, and I'm not making fun of that, because go do that if you want. But like there's a thing called the public access file that any member of the public is entitled to view when these companies, legit or not, hire a foreign worker. So my whole push was to do that, and it's been really cool seeing folks like Sarah and let me back up. When I put that out, I put out a post. We need a whole army of little Nick Shirleys out there that are going to go use this data and go, you know, help me consolidate your findings on this website so I can share with State Department, USCIS, DOL, whoever. So it was exciting to see Sarah do it, and then really exciting to see, you know, Tyler jump on it as well. he reached out to me, I don't know, a month or so before we actually hooked up. Let me know that he's going to be going through, some different cities and filming. Wanted to know if I'd be interested in hooking up with him here in Houston. And at that point, I had already gone around and hit most of the big body shops. The first place, even before I made that website, was this apartment complex that him and I went to. And I didn't door knock there at all. I was still like I didn't even know the DOL fact sheet on public access files existed. Like I was very early on in finding it out.
Yeah.
But what I learned, it's an apartment complex that is, dude, it's got to be 95% Indian living there in that apartment complex. And if you go look at like the history of it, it's been recently bought by an Indian company. The CEO of that Indian company sits on the board, the board of Houston Greater Hindus, or something like Hindus, great, whatever it is. And on that board is also another guy that's associated with the HSS, and it got me like thinking, man, there's a lot going on here. Well, in that complex, there's 43 different employers that have H-1Bs hired. Cognizant is one of the biggest ones. And I honestly kind of needed someone like Tyler that was willing to go out, out there and put his name out and, videotape it, capture it. I thought you'd have one shot, real one shot, one opportunity on it. And it was exciting. We roll up, bam, 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 knock on the first door, not knowing what to expect. That one's actually in the video, the very first one we did together. It's the guy that has the little white on his head. And you saw the look, I don't know if you saw it, but the look on his eyes, scared shitless when he answers the door and we're asking these questions. And the intent wasn't to scare him, but he couldn't provide the public access files. We're not in compliance there. We go to the next door, say that guy brings us into his house. Very interesting experience. Supposed to have been working with a company for 16 years, 12 of the years he said he's in the US, and it makes a salary of 130 grand a year. I'm going to tell you, if you're a software developer for 16 years and making 130, you're getting raw dogged. Like you're getting screwed at that deal really badly. He seemed to be happy with it. Tried to help, provide everything that he needed to. He wasn't really able to. I think the next 5 or 6 doors we knocked on in that complex, there was nobody at any of those businesses. They all had, or at those apartments, they all have the Ring cameras up, which is, it was interesting because as we're going down the hall, the only ones that have rings are the ones that are associated with an H-1B. The ones that aren't, they don't have the Ring cameras. And then we get the property manager rolls up on us. They kick us out of that place. Like we were going to keep going. They run us out, and I explained to him, well, you're now like interfering with our right as a member of the public to access these things. If you don't want us here, then maybe you shouldn't allow all these LLCs to be registered to your apartments. But it was a neat experience. Went from there into Fort Bend County, Sugarland area, and none of this is on the tape. We must have hit probably another 10 or 12, businesses, high rises, and never, not once, did we find a worker other than those 2 that were on film there
at the apartment complex.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to think about that, right? Like 12 to 15 more businesses and nobody's there. We some of them was at a house and they're like, no, we don't know the name of that person. It wasn't even the same like ethnicity of it. Like that person's not that person that's answering the door based off of their. Like pretty clear. Talked to the office park attendants and they're like, no, they haven't been here for 2 years. We haven't seen them. They've actually moved out. Talked to the next door neighbors in suites. Oh yeah, they came in one time 10, 11 months ago. Haven't seen them since. I don't know. It's wild, but it definitely brought a lot of eyes to the problem.
Yeah, and you would hope that it would bring the right eyes to make the right kind of change, but unfortunately, it doesn't feel like that's ever happening, especially, here.
Yeah.
It's sad because, now with that being said, what has been your experience or like either firsthand, secondhand seeing it with how these H-1Bs are, destroying Texas culture, jobs, and businesses and stuff like that, like taken away from us here.
Yeah, I mean, the H-1B program is the biggest scam ever. It is absolutely displacing Americans. It is absolutely hijacking our businesses, our corporations, our tax dollars, our neighborhoods, our communities, our kids' future, our current livelihood, and it's total bullshit. So, I mean, I'll start with, in my experience in big tech, when I was an L7 that had a bunch of them working for me. Uh, I didn't hire them. In a lot of these big companies, you get given a objective at my level to go solve something, and I was given the objective to standardize shift differential pay in the United States. So Amazon had a bunch of different business units. The logistics, the shipping, the warehouses, the sort centers. They all evolved at different times, so they all had different pay policies. You could have two buildings across the street from each other paying different night premiums, weekend premiums. So that would then cause one building to cannibalize the other, yada yada. I was brought in to standardize that, and to do that, I was given a big data team, and they were all visa holders. Uh, and then I worked with visa holding data engineers, software developers, yada yada, and they made up 90% of the folks I worked with. Of them, I would say 70% couldn't do the job. Period. The difference is if you put the three of us out on a mission and one of us just fucking sucks, that one person's probably not going to make it very long.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to continually cover for that guy. You're going to say, boss, he's a dirtbag. Get him out of here. Get me someone that can do the job. They don't do that. Like they cover for their buddies. And I think it's a lot of times because they know that their buddies on fake skills, like
Yeah.
they've falsified their resume, whatever. So then they've been around so long now in big tech, they're promoted. They're the ones that are deciding who gets laid off, who doesn't make the next cut. And I knew when I started speaking out about it, I was subjecting myself to layoff. But I mean, my daughter's future is probably more important to me right now than my own career, and so that was my focus. Zooming into Texas, the same thing you see happening in big tech is happening all over the place. I put out some data last night or the night before on state level contracting, and I'll tell you, I don't have all my analysis done on that yet. But so far, what I'm saying is the mass majority of our state level contracts for it's called ITSAC, IT staffing augmentation contracts, are going to H-1B holders. They're not just going to H-1B holders; they're going to vendors that are H-1B dependent. So like Health and Human Services, for example, they've got a bunch of contracts for things like modernization or building a dashboard or
Yeah.
business analyst, whatever. They go and hire a contractor, and that contractor then produces a worker for the state to do a job. But when the contractor is the one now who's validating the I-9 work, they're they're not actually validating that the degrees are real, that the person's actually on the right visa. So the H-1B has become this conduit that has allowed these businesses that facilitate and traffic in foreign labor to really cut corners on all ends.
Yeah.
If you look at what you're seeing in Frisco or Sugarland, that cannot have been just H-1B driven, right? There's actually still not enough H-1Bs for us to see what we physically see. Those are F1 students working illegally. Those are B1, B2 student or B1, B2
OPTs.
visitors working illegal. The OPTs, which is it's all of that. But the conduit to allow that was the H-1B program. So it's like triage. If you want to fix something, you've got to stop saying that it's acceptable for us to have foreign labor filling roles that Americans can do.
Yeah.
I literally was pushed out and replaced by foreign labor. So it doesn't mean I don't have the skills or the ability to do it. It just means there was someone that would do it cheaper. And then it drives down the issue with schools, right? Like universities become instrumental in this, right? That the universities are staying afloat by selling their tuition to foreign students because the foreign students don't actually want the degree. They know that once they get here on an F1 visa, they're here and they don't have to leave. So they're selling citizenship, not education. Well, that takes away the spot from my kid. My daughter had a 4.5 GPA. 32 college credits, varsity swimmer, state knowledgeable champion, but she graduated in Colorado where my ex-wife lives. So she was an out-of-state student trying to get into UT. With that, she couldn't get into UT, but yet there's, 17,000 Asian kids in the University of Texas in Austin. And it's like, that's not supportable by birth. Those aren't citizens. Those are non-residents. Those are resident dependents of H-1Bs here on H-4. It's a fucking mess.
Jesus.
It's not, I don't know. It's not sustainable by any means.
Yeah, it's like they're literally trying to. I mean, people are like replacement theory is false. So it's like, how does it feel that way when you see like this mass immigration coming in, replacing literally everything of us at every level, like doctors, the software engineers, and then people, teaching assistants, because they'll come in on F1s, and then you have like more students from a foreign country than here in the host country, because they're getting preference. And it's like, how can you not sit here and feel like we're losing who we are as an American? And then on top of that, you see like whenever in Tyler's video, and he's going through in the Frisco area and stuff like that, and he's talking to these Indians on H1s or F1s or whatever they may be, and they're talking about how they like it here better, but it's because they like it here because they like the American freedoms, but it's basically like they're back home where they came from, because everyone from there has immigrated here on the same thing. So they're basically turning where they came into what they left. And I'm like, that's not the point of where you go to another country. If you're trying to turn where you came to into what you left, then you should have never left. No, you assimilate to where you come, and you respect where you are. Like you embrace in whatever culture in your home, but you don't try to impose your culture on the host country and try to change the fabric of that country into what you left. Like that's an invasive takeover, and it's bullshit.
What's crazy to me about it is all of us want to bitch and complain, and every time we call fucking AT&T or Amazon or whomever the fuck we call, and we're getting India, right?
Yeah.
Why the fuck are you bringing them here now? Like, if you're going to bitch about it, like having a call and that's who you're going to get overseas, like I guess these motherfuckers that are actually bringing them over here, they never have to call to get their own shit fucking worked on. So I guess they don't have to deal with them anyways.
I mean, it's about extraction of wealth, right? There's a couple things happening. The ones that are brought here, I believe, are really just extracting wealth. And let's look at those Texas cracks, right? They're taking that's taxpayer money, taking jobs from an American, putting it into an Indian's hands. There's high levels of remittances, 135 billion a year go back to India. They do that when they can't offshore the job. Well, the offshoring again is now there's a job that would be here in America is happening there. A lot of those businesses, they took PPP loans that were forgiven. That's again extrapolating taxpayer dollars from us. But the part that I think people actually have to understand is these are temporary visas. We don't necessarily want them to assimilate, right? Like I don't care actually if they bring their culture here for 3 years and then fucking leave, right? Because then the culture leaves with them. Yeah. They're not bringing it here. They're here just maintaining who they are while they're here doing a job and leaving. But the problem is that we took this temporary worker thing and we allowed them to turn that into chain migration, bring their family, bring their kids, their wife gets work authorization. They can buy a house on a 30-year note on a 3-year visa. They get 800 level credit the minute they touch down to buy a car on a 5 to 7-year note, whatever. All that's the bullshit. That's actually the problem.
They should not be able to buy a house. That's bullshit.
No, they shouldn't. And then if we treated it that way, right, and it was just one guy living in a hotel temporarily, getting paid per diem it's like when I was in Korea, I didn't change to be Korean. I was still American. I was there for a year and then I was PCSing out. It's like we didn't go become Iraqi. We were there in Iraq either. Like that's the mentality that we need to have. Is these guys are here on a TDY to America to do a job. They could be who they are. Then they got to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But when you lose the get the fuck out part, it becomes a problem. And so I don't know. Like I just don't want to blur lines on what we actually want them to do.
Yeah. Like
I don't know that I want. I want them to leave.
Like the most I'd say, like they could be allowed to like rent an apartment for 3 years or whatever like that or something like that. But like buy a home is ridiculous. That they can take a fucking 15 or 30-year note when they're here on a temporary visa. That's fucking insane to me. They should not be allowed to do that.
It's non-cogent. Like, I mean, it drives.
Like we can't buy land in other countries.
Yeah.
God.
Yep.
That's, and until you said that thought never crossed my mind. I can semi, and I'm very hard past to say maybe buy a car because they're going to be here for a few years. But again, I would say maybe like lease a car or something like that. But like buy a home is fucking insane to say like, you're here on a temporary visa. We're going to give you a 30-year note. Fuck that. That is insane to me. Like until you are here on a residence status, like a green card maybe, and you're working your way towards that. Like if you got to that point, and you're here for a legitimate fucking reason, not this temporary and then to go back or wherever. Like that is insane to me that you are allowed to buy a home on a temporary H-1B, F-1, whatever. Like that is fucking insane. That should not be legal.
No, I agree.
We've got to stop doing any real estate deals unless people have residency status, whether it's a vacation home or fucking a permanent home. If a motherfucker doesn't have residency here, I don't think it's right that they buy a ranch or a fucking house or whatever it is. Look, if I want land in Mexico, I can only lease it for 99 years. I can never purchase that piece of fucking property.
Because you're not a citizen.
I mean, I think there should be a totally different tax code. You hear like that's the thing that people are talking about no property taxes in Texas is what they want. I don't actually want that. I want a structured tax code where maybe you and I don't pay property taxes, but if we've got visa holders here owning homes, they should pay 4 times the rate that they're paying right now. Like there's ways to like you want to be here, fine, be here, but it's going to be very uncomfortable for you financially, and you're not going to be able to extract the wealth.
It's going to cost your ass,
It cost you. Like there's sensible things that you could do there. But here's the scary part, guys. Like, let's look at like a business intelligence engineer, a BIE. It's one of the more common jobs that gets imported into these big businesses, Amazon, Meta, Google, Facebook, Walmart, whoever. They build analytics. They build dashboards, right? They normalize data. They join it together. They make it presentable in a way that, the ops leader, the guy running a warehouse can learn, or the guy that's making a pay level decision can, like, they were valuable back in the day. AI can do all that shit now.
Yeah.
Like they're just basically worthless now. Honestly, they're not worth, maybe I won't say worthless, but they're not at all worth what their pay band has set them to. You don't need to pay $280,000 a year for that anymore. Well, they bought houses and they're going to be laid off at some point. Like they have no real reason to stay here. And I worry, and because they cluster, you don't usually see one person in the neighborhood. You see 12 houses on a street. They're all the visa holders. And on that street, there's 10 streets just like it in that neighborhood. There's going to be a major collapse when they're no longer needed.
Yeah.
And they're not any longer needed now, So instead of like slowly titrating downward and letting their visas expire and forcing them to sell and vacate, what's going to happen is the shit's going to hit the fan. And they're all going to have to sell it's going to be a bunch of short sells. But anyway, when they sell, the tax base is going to dry up in Frisco, right? And when the tax base dries up in Frisco, you're going to be shutting schools, your police services, your fire services, your emergency services are going to slow way down. And what's going to be left is a bunch of Americans bag holding with, property depreciation, dilapidated services, and bonds that are worthless that the community has taken out to facilitate all the things that they've invested in.
Yeah, because Frisco used to be such like an up and coming state. Because my dad used to live in Frisco, like back before all this. And I loved going to Frisco. I used to love visiting. It was an amazing spot to be at and everything. But now it's just it's gone to shit. And if it goes all to this collapse, like who knows what Frisco will turn into, and that's just sad to think, knowing what it once was and what it was becoming.
Yeah, I mean, the way I think about it is if I'm the guy making 300 a year at a tech job and I get laid off and I can't find another job over like, let's say 120 a year, and I can't afford my house note and I can't afford my car, like, do I actually stay there and try to fight it, or do I just bounce back to India where no one can touch me, cut, sling, load, and run? Take what I've got, cash out what I can, and just abandon the property. Like, I think that's a risk, and it's not a considered risk.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty insane, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So when it came to I guess wrapping up the campaign, right? Election day and everything, and because I watched the first debate with you, Etwop, and Toth, and whenever Crenshaw didn't show up, and and it was good to finally like see you like kind of get into that element, because I'd seen plenty of videos of you and and whatnot, and seen you post, but I hadn't seen you like in that element until then. And but
which one was? What was the backdrop? Was that the?
It was at
the cross.
Yeah, it was at a church.
Okay.
So, but it was good. Like I said, it was good to finally hear you in that element. Kind of going, responding in kind of a debate sense. But when it came to the one with Crenshaw, tell me a little bit about that. Like, what was it like to finally be there to like kind of face him, like face off with him?
Yeah, I mean, so let me jump into that. First off, the one you saw in the church, that was the first time ever that like I had spoke publicly that wasn't at work. I mean, I've been a store manager, I've been leading shifts, but I never had shared my political thoughts outwardly to anybody, even in a small group. So that was like a crash course on wheels, getting to do that. By the time that we had the one that Crenshaw was supposed to be there for, I was pretty excited. It was like I felt I was getting more comfortable speaking. I knew what I was. I knew my agenda. I knew my safe spots. I thought I knew where Crenshaw and Toth were going to go. Toth had RSVP'd for it. He was supposed to be there. He bailed out at, I think it was like 7 p.m. the night before. Really kind of disappointed me a lot that happened. So I go in there not knowing what to expect. I mean, I'd been trying for a year to get Dan Crenshaw to even say my name or respond to things that I was putting on X or, tagging him, completely ignored. And I thought, all right, this is the first time I'm going to be able to get him to hear what I'm saying, to get him to understand why I would get off my couch and challenge him. It wasn't because, like, honestly, it was because he wasn't representing me. There's this visa thing that's a big fucking deal to me, and you're ignoring me every single time, but yet you'll give all of your attention and time to Ukraine. Like, fine, I'll fucking challenge you, and that's really what it was. So I mean, at some point he admits Nick is right what he's saying, which I thought was pretty cool. Like he couldn't challenge anything that I was saying. I was right. I am right. I am an expert in this space, and at least he got to hear it. The most disappointing thing to me is honestly that Steve didn't show up. Like I'll be honest, I'd always thought pretty highly of him. Like through my meeting him on the campaign, that day shit switched for me hard. And this is how hard it switched. I would have rather Crenshaw won than Steve Toth after that day.
Really?
Because to me, and I mean, this is just my backwards, like way I was raised. Like you say you're going to be there for something, you go there and be there for it. And it would have been the only time the voters would have been able to see all four of us, me, Martin, Steve, and Dan Crenshaw, all on the same thing, answering the same questions.
Yeah.
I felt the district deserved that. And I was really pissed off about it.
Yeah.
the day before I'd been on the stage with Martin and Steve Toth. It was a True Texas Project thing, and I didn't think it went very well for Steve at that thing. So I maybe that's why he didn't show up. Maybe he was shaky on that. But for a guy that's entire campaign was not being Dan Crenshaw, when you don't show up to see Dan Crenshaw, I got a problem.
Yeah, like it really did. It did put it in a weird light. Like I was like, here it is. Finally, Crenshaw is showing up because he'd been avoiding all this shit. Because at a certain point, it kind of felt like he was too good, or like he felt Crenshaw felt like he was. I don't need to do this because I am going to get reelected. That's how it seemed like it was coming off, right? And it wasn't until the end there that he kind of started to feel like maybe I should show up to this, you know?
Well, he didn't show up to that one because of any reason other than there's a lot of money in that room, right? It was the Woodlands. I forget the name of it.
There's a lot of money in the Woodlands period. So
yeah, that was the big money room. He showed up with his nice printed, looked like the Navy recruiting folder, glossy folder with notes in it. What I thought was very interesting is, he's having to write notes as we're answering questions. He's got he's got a notebook, everything printed. I don't know, everything. I don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
I am going to go tell you what I believe. I don't take notes. I answer the questions as they come. I don't pre-prepare. I show up, I answer, I do. And I think it was at least eye-opening for him to see that, there is a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
I think I earned a little bit of his respect there. He earned a little bit of my respect back there. I mean, I've always respected everything he did in the military, hero type stuff. I appreciate the shit out of that. I believe he lost his way, got attracted to the power, of the position, the benefits of it, and just forgot the average person,
Yeah. Because at the beginning, it felt like he was going to be like the new face of the Republican Party. Like
he should have been.
I felt like so if Trump would have got 2 back-to-back terms, like it was going to be 2016 and 2020, I felt like it was going to be Crenshaw 2024. Like that's what it felt like. He was going to be emerging as like one of those new, like the new face of it, right? But it didn't take long for him to step on our toes with his endorsement of red flag laws, like within a couple months. And it was kind of like, well, hold on now, man. Like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? But I gave him a pass. I was like, okay, you know what? It's his first time in office, maybe he's just kind of getting his bearings a little bit, and I gave him a lot of leeway for a while because, he would be up on the Hill and he'd be talking about, wanting to reduce the size of government, about crazy spending and shit like that. He was like, okay, cool. Now he's getting back up there. And then he just went completely left field and never came back. Cause then he's pushing endless funding to Ukraine. He's backing the 51 intelligence officers, against Trump. And like it's all this shit that it just blew my mind. And then you have these SEALs coming out against him because like you had that one SEAL that was Ed Gallagher, I think it was like that. Yeah. Who was like pleading to him for help. And Crenshaw was just like pretty much going behind his back and trying to sabotage him. And it was just like, holy shit, dude. Like what the like, and it feels like a lot of, and unfortunately it does feel like a lot of these operators or guys who like saw the shit that end up going to Congress or Senate. It feels like you get the hero version of them, right? And then it's like, oh yeah, I want something like some guy like that. But then when they get in there, you learn that there's a reason they're in office now because they were a piece of shit. And it's like, fuck, dude, like why can't we get a good, like, military guy who did some awesome shit, but is also a good fucking leader?
Like, I mean, so SEALs are probably the most overrepresented group in Congress.
Definitely.
Out of anybody.
Definitely.
any ethnicity, any group, any skill, they've got to be the most overrepresented. And the problem is being a good SEAL doesn't make you a good legislator.
Nope.
And being a good soldier doesn't make you a good legislator. And I think that it's been some degree like on the voters where they've looked for an easy button to identify who's the right person. And if you've got a V device on an award, or you've got the trident or a tab, you're like, yeah, you're vetted. And I think that's wrong. Like, I mean, honestly, I'd imagine, probably like a VP level person in a big tech company is probably more suited to effectively legislate in Congress than any of those people based off of skill sets,
Yeah.
And I just mean, if you're a Navy SEAL, you're not actually going out and building consensus.
Yeah.
You're not building like
You're not writing instruction and stuff like that.
You're not writing instruction. You're not managing all these different cross-functional teams. You're really good at what you do, but what you do isn't what we're doing in Congress.
Yeah.
And I just think that's the problem. I'd rather have the guy that was, a fucking 42 Lima supply clerk or whatever that, did it at did it for the 82nd Airborne and managed these relationships with all these different brigades and personalities, and then yada yada, the logistician. Like, those are the skill sets that may actually be more suited for some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to profile anybody based off of their prior job. I think that people have given too much credibility to a trident.
Yeah. Yeah, and on top of that, like you kind of see it right now happening real time with Ed Galrain against Thomas Massey, right? And because Ed Galrain was a SEAL, I knew nothing about this guy, never knew his fucking name until now. Thomas Massey is the world's biggest enemy because he dares to represent his constituents and not be a mind-controlled bot that goes MAGA, 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 I must support Trump.
Right.
But then you look up Ed Galrain when he was a SEAL. There is a lot of SEALs that have come out to say that he was an absolute nightmare of an officer and a leader and a shitty fucking like SEAL to serve with. Like, they fucking hated him. And this isn't like onesie twosies. This is like throughout his whole career as an officer, as a SEAL. So it's like, okay, we're already looking at a pretty bad choice to put in Congress right here, because we have a bad track record of electing SEALs into Congress because they don't end up representing the people. They end up representing themselves and just being loyal to the president, which is like, no, you support your president as long as it supports your constituents who elected you. Your first role being elected to Congress or Senate is to represent your constituents from your state or your district that elected you to that position, and then you will support the president as needed. But these fucking politicians, they get into those positions of power and they see all this money and power and everything come in, that as soon as they're there, they don't care about the people that put them there. And it's just so fucking frustrating. And it's like, because Ted Cruz doesn't care about Texas anymore. He doesn't.
No.
And
not at all.
It's like, I cannot wait till we can vote his ass out, because somebody needs to replace him, because all he talks about is Israel now. He doesn't even, I don't remember the last time he talked about Texas, and that's how fucking much I hate this dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's wild. Like, there's so much of you're not running to. I actually tried pretty hard to not talk shit about Crenshaw or Toth.
Yeah.
And I didn't really until like the last week or so, because I wasn't running against them per se. I was running with the issues that I thought was most important, the issues that I thought I could bring expertise to. And I see all the time people running against, someone because they're a rhino, or running against them off of, their desire to support the president's agenda.
Yeah.
And it's just like, come on, guys. This isn't really the way it was to be.
No, because that's just like Toth's whole agenda was, I'm not Dan Crenshaw. That's Ed Galrain's agenda. I'm not Thomas Massey. Yep. That's all it is. And I have the support of the president. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it is. I'm going to support the President Trump 100%. And I have his endorsement, and I'm not Thomas Massey. That's his entire fucking platform. we have
Well,
zero
that was true.
idea. We have zero idea
Mhm.
if he's going to be an actually good rep or represent his people, and it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
No, I mean that was Steve Toth's deal, right? Is he, twice supported by Toth or by Trump? I'm not Dan Crenshaw, and my goal is to support the president's agenda. But you look at like the bills. I think he in the last session or over the last 2 or 3 sessions, he had like I forget the numbers, but it was like 119 pieces of legislation submitted and 3 passed. So you're not very effective there.
Yeah,
Uh, you're picking issues that are state level issues when you are speaking about things they're not federal level issues. So now are you actually pushing for more federal oversight and authority than what they rightfully should have? Uh, I don't know. It's just folks don't know the role, and I mean I'm not saying I do, but I sure as shit am not. We're not seeing it modeled by a lot of legislators right now.
no, not at all. And it it does suck because I feel like the what has happened now with the Republican Party, unfortunately, is we have we the and this is kind of why I've left the whole identification as MAGA or labeling as left or right because like I just I can't buy into this shit anymore. I can't pretend like one side is really different than the other than one has a R and one has a D because they're essentially propagating the same exact thing but with the different title because
Yeah,
in the end at the end the game is always the same. You elect us, but we're going to do what we want and it's what pisses me off. And so that's why I don't identify as a conservative or Republican anymore. I identify as an independent, a libertarian, because I just want the government out of my business. I want to stop spending so goddamn much. I want to just not get involved in everybody else's business. I want to stop all this foreign aid because it's ridiculous. I want the only reason why we should have any military involvement is if somebody fucks with us and we have to retaliate. That's what it
yeah,
should be, man. Like we should not be doing wars of choice. We should do wars of defense. That's what it should be. But we just keep on pumping money into all these other countries and pumping money into all these bullshit and they can't call it wars, operations, military conflicts and stuff like that, because, if you call it a war, then it's illegal. But it's just, it feels like we're on a chain nowhere fast.
yeah. Like here's the part that really got me is we did like GWAT was go over there and do stupid shit so it doesn't come here. Well, our fucking neighborhoods have changed. The entire state has changed. It has come here, right? Like, yeah, there's
Yep.
not IEDs in the middle of the street that we're driving down. That's cool that we don't have that here, but we may in fucking 10 years at the rate we're headed.
Yeah.
My point is like there's zero. You can't sell me anymore on foreign wars. I'm all aligned with defensive posture only. That's all that we really need.
Yep.
We do have dependency too much in global trade. That all that tells me is we need to revitalize trade here.
Yep.
Like COVID was so interesting in dealing with the global economy at that point where Amazon's scaling out. They're trying to buy every trailer they can buy in the world. The trailer manufacturers can't get aluminum. There's an issue with there's not enough axles being built out to unload the Connex boxes off the ships. You really got to see how bad our global dependency is there. And rather than invest here at home and fix it, we just lean further into the global homo. And I don't know. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, me neither. Well, brother, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, but
Dusty had to step out. Unfortunately, he had to take a work call, but so I really appreciate you making the time. I'd love to do it again sometime if time allows us, and we got bring on and we get some hopefully some changes, or if anything crazy pops off with the H1Bs, and we can keep on spreading awareness and getting that out there. But I do, like I said, I appreciate you making the time, guys. I wish we could have got you elected, but yeah, machine works in mysterious ways, unfortunately. But keep on doing what you're doing with the spreading the awareness. Getting that, because I know you're still kind of working behind the scenes with that a little bit. But I hope you can we can help secure your kid, your kids, my kids' future and everything like that, and help bring Texas back to greatness. Because in the meantime, I feel like Texas, we just need to become a republic again. I just don't care about anybody else anymore at this point. Just bring Texas back to greatness. But anything else you want to end on?
No, man, I appreciate having me. Just help more people get involved. I'm not doing this thing again. It was very time oriented for me getting out there. You can only cost yourself a job so many times in life and still be okay. But I'll keep pushing the word out there. We need younger folks. We don't need any more 70-year-old representatives going to Congress.
Definitely.
We need younger folks pissed off and willing to fight. So
definitely. Well, guys,
appreciate you.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, but never forget, Texas forever, motherfucker.
See you.